What part of your JavaScript application should have the cleanest code? I found this very counterintuitive answer, which I would like to tell you about. Hi, my name is Pokorny, and I like to write JavaScript. I also like to read JavaScript, and I like to talk JavaScript. And in my weekly videos, I do some language features, I review some code, or like today, I talk about some tips and tricks how to write code. So if you are new here, consider subscribing. Let's discuss what code should be the cleanest. So there were two things which collided last week. And doing them both, I realized several things. The first thing is that I like reading, and now I have these study sessions when I go and read some book. And in the past weeks, I was reading The Clean Architecture by Robert C. Martin, and I really like that book. And to sum up the most important thing, Robert there argues that your app should be divided into something he calls entities, which is like the core business logic. What makes your app your app? I mean, if it's a banking app, it would be the accounts and the interest rates and things like that. So everything which is like really business. And these things should be kind of the core of your app, and they should be independent on everything else. Everything else, which includes databases, it includes UI or communications, should be depending on these business rules. The idea is that these business rules do not change often. Like, I mean, if you change them, it means that something in your business has had to change, like a policy or maybe even a law, something really big. The other things, however, change more often. Like UI changes very often, but changes in UI should not be reflected in changes of the business logic. If you separate these things, you will have what he calls clean architecture. And there are many more things, and I really enjoyed the book, so I recommend you reading that. This separation there was something that I found extremely interesting. I not always do it, but also when I didn't do it, the problem arose. He talks mostly about big systems. I'm pretty sure this can apply easily to normal JavaScript applications written in any language you might have. So it's just clients or single page applications. And I also sense that if you separate the communication and the logic, it helps you most of the time. And then this finishing the book collided with listening to a certain podcast. You see, I mean, I like podcasts. I like to listen to them, especially when I'm traveling or maybe jogging or something like that. And the other time I wanted to listen to a podcast, but there was no Wi-Fi, there was no reception, so I couldn't download a new episode, and I had to re-listen an old one. The podcast I was listening to was Developer Tea. It's one of my favorite podcasts by Jonathan, and I really appreciate one. I really love that one. I recommend listening to that. I will post the link below, and Jonathan, thanks for making that. And the particular episode I was listening to was about clean code and where in your codebase the clean code should live. So I will recap that. Jonathan there makes a statement that we would like to all have a clean code in our code base, but it's not possible to have all our code clean. So we have to prioritize. The question is, what is considered clean code? Because there will be definitely many definitions. And Jonathan there says that it's code which is reasonably well documented. It has, I don't know, small functions. It's, I don't know, the variable names are good. Also, it is probably somehow unit tested. It's a code. It's a code that is nice. And as a shortcut, he says, clean code is code which is easiest to change. Like imagine someone new joins your team. This is the code that would be easiest for them to start changing. And then there comes the very interesting part where he says what code should be clean. And because it's a code that's easiest to change, it should be the code that changes the most. And that's where the magic is. It's not a code which holds the biggest value or it's the business rules. No, it's the code that changes the most. And because keeping code clean and keeping it changeable is a huge benefit. And if you keep that, you will be able to continue changing it. And through this compound interest, where you change it and it keeps being changeable, you gain the most benefit in the long run. So then, these two principles combined, well, there's a very logical conclusion from that. And that is the entities, the business logic, the core of your app, the thing that makes your app, doesn't have to be the cleanest code. What should be your cleanest code is the thing that changes the most, which in most cases is Vue. So the conclusion is very clear. Your React, I mean if you're writing React, or your Vue, your components, that should be the cleanest code you have in your JavaScript app. I certainly don't have it like that in my apps and the apps I help to write, because it never occurred to me. I always thought that, for example, the Redux code should be the cleanest because that's where the data is handled. But the truth is, if it's well tested, well, then it works, right? Then it doesn't have to be also easy to change, because how often do you change that code? However, when you have a Redux code, I'm talking mostly about Redux, that code gets changed very often by people who don't have maybe that much experience in the language or in the framework. So I would totally recommend make your React components really great, really clean, really easy to change. Make them short so they are easy to understand. Use very logical prop names. Make sure that these components have some documentation. Definitely, oh yeah, that's important. Type your props, either using TypeScript or just prop types, whatever. This is very important for the readability and therefore for changeability. And also test them. I mean, for this I would recommend you to follow Ken C. Dodds, because he's great about that. He has a lot of articles about testing, and all of this should help you to make your Vue the best changeable part of your code base. All right, that's it. I mean, for me, that's a very interesting insight, and I will try to apply it from now on. I would really like to hear from you, like, what part of your JavaScript code base is cleanest right now? Where do you put the emphasis? And maybe, do you want to change that? Do you think that what I said, it makes sense in your app? And hey, like this video if you enjoyed that, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have any ideas about future videos you might want to see, write them down in the comments. My name is Robin, and I like to write JavaScript. See you next time.